Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin. It's Tuesday afternoon, November the 28th. And like every Tuesday afternoon, I'm joined by my two veteran handicappers that have more experience than me in this business, believe it or not, folks. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, number one, we're all old. And number three, we're all knowledgeable. So with any event, Paulie, how's things in Mexico, buddy?
Oh, it's great, Ross. The weather's gotten really good lately. The water is clean. I couldn't ask for anything more, and we're winning some bets here. So everything's good. Come on down.
Yeah, the water clean in Mexico is always a key thing there, So
yeah,
there are a lot of horror stories about people getting sick from drinking the water there. But as long as your water is clean, we're good. And this gentleman here, when it comes to women and locations and where he lives, he's been in the transfer portal every year for the last 60 years. Chip Chirimbes, how are you?
I'm great. As long as I stay single, I'll be fine.
Exactly where I was going. So in any event, we're discussing 3 college football conference championship games today. Paul will be discussing the MAC championship game that we played at Ford Field in Detroit between the Miami of Ohio RedHawks and also the Toledo Rockets. And then Chipper will be looking at the ACC championship game being played in Charlotte between the Louisville Cardinals and the Florida State Seminoles. And I'll be looking at the American Athletic Conference championship game being played at the home team site of Tulane. It'll be the SMU Mustangs and the Tulane Green Wave. 3 good games here, folks. We're going to be discussing today. Just a friendly reminder, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. If you're on your PC, you'll see a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on your smart TV or your mobile device, you'll see a black subscribe button right underneath. Click on that. It'll get you subscribed. It's absolutely free to do so, folks. There's no hidden agenda. There's no strings attached. Quite simple. 100% free to get 6 of the best sports betting podcasts you find anywhere on the internet on a weekly basis. And also, folks, take an extra second, if you will, if you're new to subscribe or you're a subscriber and you haven't done this already, all you need to do is go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our podcasts being published on our great channel here. All right, let's get to the games at hand. Paulie, you're an expert in the MAC. I'm not sure you lost a game in the MAC all year long. And you're on top of the leaderboards in a lot of categories right now over at winnercircle.net, folks, and that is our sponsor. And Paulie, Miami of Ohio and Toledo, rematch here. Toledo won earlier this season, 21-17 at Miami of Ohio and covered as a 2-point favorite. Right now, the Rockets are a 7.5-point favorite. The total in this game is 44. Are we going to see more of the same, or what do you have for us here?
Well, you look back at that 21-17 game, and there was a critical moment in the third quarter, I believe, when Gabbert went down with a leg injury, and it put him out for the year. And Avion Smith came in the game. And when Avion Smith came in the game, the Miami of Ohio offense completely shut down. Now, I will tell you that Miami of Ohio was on the short end of a 2-0 turnover disparity, and that definitely cost them. But also when Smith came in the game, they ran 16 plays and netted 44 yards. There were 4 drives. They really didn't do anything. Now, Smith played last year, and he was 48% completions. And if you factor out the game against, it was like a non-division opponent, he was even below that. He was like 46%. So there's not a lot of quarterback talent there for Miami of Ohio, and that's going to be problematic. You just don't know how reliable he's going to be. He will have to throw the ball. And on the other side, Toledo at times has bogged down on offense. Now, they look great this past couple of weeks. They scored 30-plus, had a big comeback against Bowling Green. But what was troubling against Bowling Green in that win, 32-31, I believe, was Connor Bazelak had big numbers, 23 of 35 for 286. But I'm not sure Miami of Ohio can accomplish that here. So I just think this is going to be a grind-out game. 7.5 is a lot of points. But then again, as I've cited this quarterback issue, I don't know how much in the way of scoring you're going to get from the RedHawks. So I'm going to just stay under the total. I believe it's 44.5. And I think this game is probably going to see somewhere in the area of 35 points, and you're going to go to the low side.
All right, so Paulie likes Miami of Ohio and Toledo to go under the total of 44. If you can get a 44.5 out there right now, folks, jump all over it, Paul says. So, and Paulie has really knocked it out of the park when it comes to his games in the MAC this year, folks. He's probably put out more games in the MAC than anybody in our industry this year, and his win percentage in the MAC has been tremendous. Chipper continues to struggle with everything in front of him right there. Let us know when you're all set, Chipper.
I'm ready to go. I was worried about the light.
It's okay, no problem. In any event, yeah, this game between Miami of Ohio and Toledo, Paul makes some good points, Chip, and Miami of Ohio, less than 300 yards of total offense in 4 of their last 5. Toledo, on the other hand, as Paul alluded to, their last 3 games, they're averaging 37.7 points and 430 yards a game. So big disparity in offense here. Is it too heavy a number here, Chip, to look at the point spread here, or do we stay with the total with Paul talking about?
I have to defer to Paul when it comes to the MAC, and I'm always looking at big game matchups like the one I have at Louisville and Florida State. The MAC may be big game matchups to a lot of people out there, but the way I view games, I sort of push that on the side burner. So I would follow Paul all the way here. I mean, he's had such a great season in the MAC, and he seems to have really great control of the conference.
Yeah, he certainly does. Paulie, tell the folks a little bit about what you foresee coming up this week over at gamblersworld.net for yourself and why they should spend their hard-earned money with you.
Yeah, well, I'll probably have 2 college games up at most. It's obviously the board has been pared down. It's pretty much the end of the regular season. So now you got these championship games. And when you deal with these championship games, it's in the public eye. And one of the reasons why I gravitated to the MAC was precisely what Chip alluded to. People generally don't look at them and comb them over as much. So I think you get more value there. But there'll be less value this weekend. But I'm sure I'll have a couple plays. In the NFL, I really like the cards at this time of year. I don't think we did real well in the NFL this past week. I don't think we did poorly either. I think we went 2-2 in the NFL and had a disappointing loss with the Texans and the Jaguars going under the 48. The field goal doinked off the crossbar at the end, which cost us there. But I will have several NFL games up, at least 4. I believe I have 3 up there right now. And what I like to do is grab early numbers. And I think you can attest to this. Last week we put up Utah State, and I gave it out on the show for free because it already moved 3 points from 9.5 where I posted. It was down to 6.5 on the show, and it ultimately closed at 4. So I get these early numbers, and 8 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to catch the early move on these. So it's important to grab these games early because you want to get the most value out of the game. And I have a few NFL games up there right now that I am convinced will move my way. In fact, one of them already did slightly.
All right, there you have it. Paul Bovi, by the way, folks, over the last 30 days in college football, he's not a volume handicapper, unlike most of us on the site, but he's gone 15-4 in college football over the last 30 days. Over the last 60 days, he's at 62%. Overall at the site, since its inception, he's number 2 in college football. In the NFL, he's up there too, number 2 over the last 7 days, even though it's just a 3-2 record. Wasn't a great week for a lot of us in the NFL last week, but Paul did have a winning week, so follow him right there. And then also overall, over the last 7 days, Paul's 6-3. That's number 1 at the site. Over the last 30 days, Paul is number 2 at the site with a 23-14 record. And over the last 60 days, he's number 3 at the site. So a lot of good stuff from Paul Bovi over at gamblersworld.net. And don't forget, folks, rather than just investing into a one-day single game or multi-game package, which we guarantee as well, you can get Paul's a 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day packages. They're priced accordingly at $99, $199, and $399. And all 3 of those subscription plans are also guaranteed. If you don't win, you don't make a profit, we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. All right, let's get to Chipper. Louisville and Florida State. Chip, I'll say one thing about this game. Florida State's a 2.5-point favorite and the total's 49. Here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave the rest up to you. I don't want Florida State to win as a college football fan because I don't know how you leave them out of the college football playoff with a 13-0 record if that occurs. And rest assured, they're going to get blown out of the water, whoever they play in the first round of the college football playoffs, because, again, a discernible difference between Jordan Travis and their backup quarterback, as we saw last week, against a Florida team that had been struggling mightily, Chip. I mean, terrible over their last 5 games heading into that matchup, and they only allowed 230 yards to Florida State. So your take, Chipper.
Well, I love the matchup, and I love the matchup because of probably from the things you have just said, and I'm talking about playing off last week's games. Florida State needed the game. They came in without Travis Jordan at quarterback, or Jordan Travis, shall I say, at quarterback, who had 16 touchdown passes and 1 INT the entire year. Now they have to rely completely on the ground game, and like you said, it's really bogged them down. Now, Louisville last week had absolutely nothing to play for. They weren't going to be one of the Final 4 teams. They knew they had the championship game coming up next week, and Kentucky was a very viable club to be against. And, of course, Louisville and Kentucky have this great rivalry as it is. They lose 38-31, and you can actually attest that loss to possibly a 100-yard kickoff return by the Cardinals. But I think that the Louisville Cardinals were looking ahead to this matchup without a doubt, and Florida State still had to put everything they had into their effort against Florida. They're coming out of a victory in Gainesville, where they covered, by the way, 24-15. And I just don't think they could sustain that this time around. I think Louisville was just laying in wait because of last week's game. I think they were totally distracted, and yet they did put up 31 points. So I'm looking for Louisville to come up big here, and you may get your wish. Florida State may not make it.
There you go. So, Chipper, you hear the dog barking in the background?
Yeah, I do.
And he likes the dog. That was a prelude to his pick, and he's taking Louisville plus a 2.5 against Florida State. Paul, it was 224 yards to be exact that Florida State had last week against a Florida defense, like I said, that had been abysmal in their previous 5 games up until that matchup. Here's the thing with Louisville. I mean, not only that kick return, Chipper, but they also turned the ball over 3 times, because in that contest, it must be noted, they outgained Kentucky in that contest 403 to 289. So 289 usually is not going to get you 38 points like Kentucky had in terms of total yards. But, Paulie, what do you think of this Florida State and Louisville? Is there anything we missed?
Well, interestingly enough, you brought up the 289 yards. Louisville lost one other game, and they held the opposition, I believe it was Cincinnati, to 288. And they were on the Pittsburgh. They were on the short end of a 3-0 turnover deficit. I think it was 6-1 combined between the 2 games, including Kentucky last week. So Louisville is just in my opinion, a much better team. And if you do the comparison versus Boston College, I will tell you there is no comparison. Louisville, even with Travis in the lineup, was light years better. So I'm not even sure that Florida State would be a superior matchup here, even with Travis in the lineup. Now that Travis is out and you got this guy Tate, whatever his name is, I just don't see Florida State being able to compete. I just think Louisville is going to blow out Florida State, and it's not really going to be a contest. So I would certainly lay it.
I concur. And just from the standpoint is I just want to see Florida State lose, not because I'm against the great people over there in Tallahassee in that region, not because I don't like Florida State as a university or as a college football team. I just want a more competitive college football playoff. And I just can't see right now with the quarterback situation at Florida State, them being able to compete with any of the other three teams that who will qualify for the college football 14 playoffs. So I agree with Chipper. Paul agrees with Chipper. The world agrees with Chipper. Anyway, Chipper, tell the folks why the folks should go to gamblersworld.net and make some purchases from you and spend their hard-earned money on you. Because
the big games and the big money are on the line, and I am the big game player. We've got the big playoff coming right now in conference championships. We're going to have another game of the year this weekend. So looking forward to big games, big money, and the big game player is the place to go. Chip Chirimbes, log on, follow the buy links. And the basketball's been doing really well. Stubbed our toe on Sunday, Ross, but, coming right back with more winners.
Yeah, Chip is coming out of the gate in the NBA with a 30-19 record. So not bad, folks. 6-4 over the past week. Chip is also right up there in the leaderboards, number 3 over the last 30 days, number 2 over the last 60 days in money earned, and number 3 in the last 90 days in money earned, and also number 3 since the site started back in mid-July in money earned as well. College football, let's see here. What else we got going with Chipper? College basketball has been light. So, yeah, check out Chipper. He's been, like I said, one of the top handicappers on the leaderboards in the top 3 over the last 90 days and since it's the site's inception as well. That's Chip Chirimbes. And again, just like Paul Bovi, invest into his 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day package, folks. It's a true indicator and gives great handicappers like Paul, Chip, and myself the ability to make you money over the long haul and for you not to make a rash decision just on one day's worth of picks. Yeah. All right, let's get to myself. I'm going to be looking at the big game in American Athletic Conference Championship, and that's between Tulane, and they're going to be hosting. I just went brain dead. They're going to be hosting SMU. So much information in my mind, folks. When you get older, it gets all clogged up at times. Oh, yeah. Anyway, Tulane is a 5.5-point favorite in this game. The total is 48. Both of these teams won 8-0 in conference play. Here's the thing. SMU, 8-0 in conference play, plus 28.9 points per game and plus 189 yards per game. On top, yeah, I mean, they've just dominated conference play. Tulane is 8-0 in conference play, but they're only plus 8.1 points per game in conference play and only 50.4 yards per game in conference play. That's a drastic difference in terms of domination. Yet, something smells real fishy here. Chip, I know you have looked at this, based on what I just said, and the fact that this line opened at 3. It's now 5 or 5.5, depending on where you're looking. And this is despite a lot of heavy action coming in early on SMU, probably for the same reasons that I just alluded to. It's just never that easy to me. This is a Tulane team, 11-1 on the season. Their only loss came to number 11, Ole Miss, in their second game of the year. That loss occurred at home. It was 37-20, but it must be noted. Tulane played with a backup quarterback in that game. Their starter got ruled out shortly before kickoff. It created a a big line disparity move because of that. Yet this was a 23-20 game late in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter to make it 30-20. And then Tulane threw a pick six in the last minute to make it 37-20. My point being is that was against a number 11 team in the country in Ole Miss. And the game was a lot closer than the final score indicates. And also they played with a backup quarterback. Now, Tulane this year, when they've been a single-digit favorite, 5-0 straight up in ATS as a single-digit favorite, winning by 15.4 points per game. So they have a tendency over the last 2 years to play up to the competition and play down to the competition. And when I say play down to the competition, we're talking about a team that's gone 23-3 since the start of last season. But, I mean, a single-digit favorite in conference play as well over the last 2 years. Actually, going back to November 20th of 2021, they're 6-0 straight up in ATS as a conference single-digit favorite and win by 21 points per game. Again, to my point, when they're a heavy favorite, they seem to play down to the competition. When they're a single-digit favorite against teams that are supposed to match up with them well, they seem to step up to the plate. And don't forget, they're on the verge right now of getting to a New Year's Six bowl game for the second consecutive year. They did so last year when they went in with an 11-2 record, and they knocked off USC, a lot better USC team last year than they were this year. Knocked them off 46-45. And with the win here, they're destined for another New Year's Six bowl game because they're the highest rated group of 5 team remaining right now. SMU has been an underdog twice this year. That was at Oklahoma and at TCU. They lost both of them games by exactly 17 points, didn't cover in each. I don't know. I mean, SMU, when you look at the raw data, looks like the play here. Yeah. But why has it gone from 3-5 and 3-5 or 5 and 5.5? And despite the money coming in on SMU, and I'm going to take Tulane here. I don't know. It just looks too fishy. They're on their home field. I'm taking Tulane minus the 5 against SMU, Paul.
Well, I'm going to tell you why it's gone up, because the quarterback for SMU is Preston Stone. He got hurt. He's probably not going to play. No. The issue is the backup has very limited experience. I think he's thrown like 30 passes in his entire collegiate career. He got into 5 games this year. He threw a couple of passes against East Carolina, Rice, and you know, he had decent numbers in those games, but they were meaningless. Yeah. So it's really hard to play this game not knowing what you're going to get from SMU in terms of a signal caller. Now, I will tell you, I am not a big fan of Tulane. I think their offense from last year compared to this year, it's down a notch this year. Michael Pratt hasn't been as good. They scored a lot of points last year, not so much this year. You look at their last 2 games. Now, they shut down UTSA. I didn't think they were going to do it. But Frank Harris came into this year, grand expectations. Frank Harris this year had 6 games, the 7th-year senior for UTSA, 6 games, 214 yards or less. So the fact that he didn't perform up to task last week was kind of no surprise. The week before, they took on FAU, but the week before that, they took on Tulsa, sneaked out a 24-22 win, and the Tulsa quarterback put up huge numbers. So I'm not really sold on Tulane here, but it's hard to play the game up front. Now, I'm going to take a peek in live wagering. I'm going to see how this guy looks for SMU, and if he looks good, I'll probably step in on the Mustangs live.
Yeah, Preston Stone broke his leg last week against Navy, and he's out for the year, so he's definitely out of the game. Yes, that attributed to that line move a bit, but it opened at 3. He broke his leg in the second half of the Navy game. So I don't know how much of that line move has been attributed to his injury, Paul, because bottom line is I'm looking at the line move that occurred since Monday until now. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially with money going the way of SMU. What's your take on this one, Chip?
Well, all I keep remembering is how Tulane came from behind to beat USC in that bowl game last year. And I gained so much respect for them from doing that I played against them twice this year and lost both of those games. Now, both these teams, quarterback or not quarterback, I just see it as being an offensive affair because of the way SMU plays. And Tulane has been so difficult, like I said, for me to handicap. I play this game over the total.
All right, so Chipper likes SMU and Tulane to go over 48. That line, that total opened at 52.5. It's down to 48. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the quarterback situation from SMU. But our official pick on this game, Tulane -5 over SMU. Chipper likes Louisville plus the 2.5 against Florida State. And Paulie likes Miami of Ohio and Toledo to go under the total of 44. Those are our 3 conference championship games for Saturday, December the 2nd. Chip, there's a like button right underneath us. What do you want them to do with it?
I want them to go down and just push it once for us and let us all know that they're looking to come back and see us each week.
Absolutely. Hit that like button, folks. It's just a small token of your appreciation for the work, time, and effort we put in to bringing you a quality podcast on this channel. And to make you a smarter sports better today than you were yesterday. That's been our theme from the start 3 years ago, and it'll continue to be throughout the duration of however long all 3 of us last, which we've lasted a long time to this point. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. All right, so until the next time, which will be tomorrow morning with Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs, will be joining me. We'll be talking college basketball tomorrow morning. Chipper will be back with us on Thursday. Myself and Doug Upstone will be discussing the NFL. Our live show goes Friday afternoon, folks, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Your opportunity to chime in with all your comments and questions, and we'll get back to you immediately. So that's something you should look forward to, because I know a lot of you are very brave on these archive comments, and we would challenge you to make the same type of comments for us live, and we can answer you right away. Paulie, we'll see you next Tuesday again, and I hope everything's well in Mexico. Chipper, I hope you feel better. I know you're going through some physical struggles right now, and always the best to you, my friend. So for Chip Chirimbes and Paul Bovi and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.